You.
Up and running. Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome, everyone. I got Lauren, Elaine back, and I got two new guests on today. I got Kevin and Carla, who actually I interviewed recently on my channel. So, welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's good to meet you, Lauren.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, let's do a quick maybe intro of all of you and kind of give an audience a quick little recap of who you folks are.
Go ahead, Kevin.
All right, I guess I'll start first. All right, so I am Kevin Talley. I'm with Inc. Real Estate Investments and also 3 Acres Funding. Me and my wife, we're real estate investors in the Pittsburgh area. We've been doing it for 3 years. We also have a commercial mortgage brokerage company we have that we do like refinancing, bridge loans, and other things like that. So that's a little bit about me. I'll probably get more into it as we have a conversation. I still have a W-9 or W-2. Is that right? W-2. That's the word. My bad, y'all. I'm fumbling this early. Yeah, that's me.
Nice
Awesome.
to meet you.
Yeah, Carla. So, give us a little intro about yourself.
Okay, well, I come from a background of doing investment advisory and financial planning. And after this crash of '08, which dates me, I decided to sort of shift gears a little bit. And for the since 2010 or so, I've just been like a freelance fractional CFO. I have a really small group of clients that I work with as their CFO. So it puts me in touch with lots of different industries. My largest client has lots of real estate holdings. She does long-term rentals, short-term rentals, and midterm rentals out in Arizona. And I do work with some nonprofits, but I've been self-employed pretty much my whole life. I've tried the W-2 thing and I'm a complete failure. I don't make a good W-2 employee. I just don't. We can get into that. I'd love to blame the companies, but it's me. It's just on me.
I'll blame the companies too.
You like to be your own boss.
Yeah, I've been that way since I was a kid. I've just always dabbled in doing my own thing. So yeah. So I have lots of thoughts on the pros and cons of W-2 versus freelance. And very passionate about real estate. I have my own real estate rental. So I like a variety of businesses and activities.
Yeah.
Love it. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, I'm very interested on hearing. I already have questions that are bubbling up a little bit to ask you later.
Yeah, let's dig into it.
Good.
But I'm a real estate investor and no longer have a W-2. But recently I've also kind of had some interesting thoughts about it. I've been a full-time real estate investor now for 3 years. And before that, I was a registered dietitian. So worked in an eating disorder clinic and now do real estate. So I have done it for just enough of amount of time to really settle into that role of not working for myself.
Yeah. You're getting into the good, bad, and ugly phase, I call it.
Yes.
Yeah. But is that kind of what is the biggest challenge you think in getting into more of that entrepreneurial mindset, I guess? Because most of us were raised to head down the path of, going to college, getting that traditional job. So where did it flip for you folks?
I mean, for me, I feel like I was very my parents were like, go to school, get a good job. Their whole thing was you're going to college, you need a degree. And they were very focused on that. But me as a person, I was never really meant to work for anyone else. And I'm a self-starter. And I would say if you're a self-starter and you don't need somebody telling you what to do, or you enjoy having that freedom, because there's also pressure that comes with it. No one else is going to do it. If you don't get up and get out of bed today and go to work, no one else is going to do it for you. So it's really know yourself. Are you that person who's a self-starter and is going to enjoy that and it's going to drive you and that pressure is going to drive you a little bit? Or are you somebody who actually will enjoy having a job and knowing that that pressure is not on you? And that can even allow you to invest in the stock market or real estate or whatever it is, because you know you have that security.
I also want to point out real quick Lauren's big ass calendar behind her.
Love it.
That's like her
Dope.
planning,
Yeah.
and that's so that
That's
Yeah.
dope. That's so motivational. I love it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it really had to be that we were having a son, right? We were having our first son, Trip, and it was I'm a recruiter. Thank you. He's be two next month, and we were like, either I'm gonna get a second job or we're going to get in real estate and give it our all. And me and my wife decided to get into it, give it our all, right? She walked away from her 9 to 5 in August. She has a business she runs where she does recruiting, and then she also has we also have our two businesses together, right? And like you said, Lauren, it's about being a self-starter, right? What's your motivation, right? Your key factor is, what is your motivation? What is driving you to get those goals, right? And I always like to renew my motivation. Why? Because you might hit that goal. You might get that 5 units, right? That 2 units, right? And that gives enough to replace the pay for childcare each month, right? And you're like, I feel a little comfortable. I don't gotta worry about childcare anymore. But it's about always reinventing your goals for me, and having that passion to say, I want, like my wife coined this term. She says, occupational freedom. That's what I want. I want occupational freedom. I want to be able to do what I want when I want. And when I walk away from my job or my entrepreneurial business, it runs itself. I don't have to be there picking the phone calls at 3:00 in the morning. That's why I'm a property manager. I don't handle the toilets now. I don't handle meeting tenants at the house to walk through, because I wanted to be as passive you can be in real estate. One thing about real estate, it's not passive. You guys are investors as well. It's not passive at all. People's like, passive income, real estate, do it. No, it's not passive at all. No matter what you do, what side you're doing, how much you put off to someone else, it is never passive. But if you learn how to delegate, that's a good word right there. Delegate. You learn how to delegate as an entrepreneur, the more relaxing it is. That's mine.
Yeah, I love what your wife said. Like, she wants occupational freedom.
Yeah.
So I've noticed on Twitter, there's a lot of I want to say camps. There's the 9 to 5 camp, and then there's the self-employed camp, and sometimes they come to blows over which you should choose for your life.
No, not
and
on X.
yeah, right. I'm a big believer that you're either a good fit for being a W-2 employee or you're not. And like I said, I was not a good fit for that. So it takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to say that. And the question is, how important is passion driving entrepreneurial success? That's on our screen. I think it's a lot more to it than passion. I think it's really, like you were saying, Lauren, about knowing yourself. Are you going to have the discipline to get up and work every single day? So passion, I think, can throw you into the fire of entrepreneurship, but it's not going to sustain you when all of the normal everyday problems start piling up, just like they do at your W-2 job. You still got you're still got all those problems to navigate. So passion, I don't think is enough to necessarily carry you through all the muck that you get in with being self-employed. I think the larger thing that keeps me going is, like your wife said, the occupational freedom. I want the freedom to make my decisions without having to go to somebody else or without having to have a committee meeting about whether or not I'm going to sell a house or whether or not I'm going to start a side hustle or that kind of For me, that's what drives me. And that's how I've been, I think, been able to be successful pretty much my whole career being self-employed. It's just that drive that I know I am not going to be happy being managed by somebody else. I can't do it. I'm going to call it a weakness rather than a strength, but it is what's kept me in the game.
I really love what you said. Carla was like, passion, it's got to be more than passion. And I just said to me, like, my mind, like, passion is so fleeting, right? A passion is just like momentary thing, right? In the moment, where like when you just said that drive, of like, I cannot be working for someone else. I have to be my own boss. I have to control my own destiny. I have to, like, as they say, take the bull by the horns myself, right? And that is, man, Carla, that's really spoke motivationally to me right now,
Good.
especially, like in my real estate journey right now and like my business journey right now, like how many struggles me and my wife are having.
Mhm.
It's just motivating to hear other successful people just say, like, just keep holding on to that, like, drive.
It's
I
a
love
lot like relationships. You know, you hear about you're in the honeymoon phase and everything's
Yeah.
all fun and passionate and it's all new and great. And then reality sits in when you have to take out the garbage on Monday morning. So owning your own, being self-employed is a lot like that because you got to deal with licensing and insurance and crap that is really no fun. It's, but you got to do it. So, yeah.
What about you, Lauren? Because I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think during our conversations, it was kind of certain events might have taken place that kind of flipped the switch for your mind and kind of put you down more of this entrepreneurial path.
Yeah, I mean, I always had like an entrepreneurial spirit. So I was always doing something like, I would like do my retreats, and that was my own business. But it sometimes, yeah, life circumstance, in my case, it was like life circumstance, the pandemic hit and I had to make a choice. And I felt like it had been drilled into me that like security is really important to me, and that if you have a job and you work, especially in the medical field or like a firefighter like you, like you have this job security. And it kind of shook that foundation of like, well, you don't actually. And as an entrepreneur now, I feel more secure than I've ever felt before because I know that I can do it myself. Like I know, and like you were saying, Carly, like you learn things that you never had to learn before about like how to set up properly your business, insurance. For me, a big one has been taxes and like learning all about taxes. Like as a W-2 employee, taxes are easy.
Yeah.
And now they're complicated and they can impact you greatly in one way or another when you're in real estate and an entrepreneur. So I've learned a lot about how to like set that up. And I feel more secure now than I ever did before. But I always had that in me. Like I didn't like working for other people. And I chose a career where I was as independent, like a licensed professional, so that somebody couldn't my boss didn't have the same license as me. So I was kind of like the expert in the field within that. So it was like as much freedom as I could get while still working for somebody else. But in order to like take that next step, I think I kind of had to be pushed, really. Like, I don't know if I would have taken that step on my own, or I would have built like a huge safety net first before I had like taken that step out.
That's a great point.
To answer RWO's question about can entrepreneurship be taught or is it innate ability? I feel like it's both. Like you could be taught or it's innate. Like you can be someone like Carla who's like, this is my path. Like I'm going to work for myself because I don't want to be told what to do. And that is more important to me than any amount of security. Like you value like freedom probably, and like autonomy and all of those things. And, but it could also be, I feel, taught in that if somebody takes a role as like in a mortgage broker or something like that, like you can learn those skills and like build up your clientele over time too. I know I'm really not a person who believes like things are all or nothing or they're one way or another. Like every individual can build their life the way they want it. And you can, there's nothing you can't learn or there's nothing that's not teachable.
Agree.
I'd love to add one more thing that you talked about flipping the switch. Like when did the switch flip in you that you knew? So I'll tell this story. My very first job ever was sort of arranged for me by my family. So I'm going to hang my privilege sign out because I acknowledge that. So I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up because I had so many different passions. I just couldn't decide. And my parents said to me, well, if you don't want to be a nurse or a teacher, because that's the female stereotype in our family, then you don't need to go to college. You just need to go out and work in the world and find something you enjoy doing. And so I had an aunt who was a legal secretary, and they needed help answering the phone. So my mom more or less said, here, take my daughter. She's a senior in high school. She can answer the phone. So I did that for a law firm. And I did that for maybe 4 to 5 years. And I worked my way into doing loan closings. And so that's how I learned everything about real estate as a 19, 20, 21-year-old with no college education. And by the time I left that office, I was closing those loans on, for the attorneys, and did a lot of construction loans and residential loans. And at any rate, the switch that flipped for me was when I realized there's a ceiling. There's a ceiling here as a legal secretary doing these loan closings. And I can't bump up again. I don't like that. It felt like a cage to me. So I just started dabbling in other interests that I had. And one of those interests was sewing. And my first leap out of a W-2 job was when I was like 22 years old. And I went in with another friend in my little town. We opened up a retail store. We sold fabric and clothing, design stuff. And then out of that, we transitioned into wholesaling clothes. We had a sweatshop, more or less, where we made thousands of clothes. And that was it. Like, I knew there was no limit once I did that. And so I've just had my hands in different businesses my whole life, because I don't like the confinement of the sameness of the job every single day and the salary cap. I just couldn't deal with that. Not that I wanted to be a billionaire or anything. I just didn't like somebody else saying, here's what you are worth.
It's almost like passion threw you into it, but that's not what the other under things are what drive you and has sustained you doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to flip this just a little bit. So it's, the question is, can entrepreneurship be taught? Can it also be, I guess, I don't know if taught is the right word, but almost taken away from you at a young age? You're headed down this path, and maybe you have this passion for it, but the path that we're going on, like saying going to school, your parents, they were like, my parents worked for city government too. So it's like the pension. So it's almost like that was the path that was laid down in front of me. And that was my mindset. So is it kind of like you think your upbringing also has an impact on kind of what path you're headed down?
I do. I definitely do. Think of the term, what is the term? Nature versus nurture, right? Old psychology term, right? Nature versus nurture. For me, per se, my dad taught me entrepreneurship very young. He had me and my siblings go door to door, selling these like porcelain clowns, knock on the door saying, hey, we're the youth entrepreneur program, and we're selling these trinkets. I sold Chinese fans. I've sold porcelain clowns. My dad, who happened to be a 30-year journeyman, by the way, was like, hey, I want you to understand that you can make your own money. And he says, first rule of thumb is it takes money to make money. So he taught me the most basic, rudimentary type of entrepreneurship, right? He didn't go beyond that lesson, but he laid the foundation for where I'm at now. So kudos to my pops for that. And as in high school, I sold everything from knives to bootleg to shoes to watches. You name it. People called me Hustle Man. I was doing everything right in high school. But again, what happens is reality sinks in and you're like, oh, this money's not consistent. How do I continue to drive for, the consistent income that I want out of this? So you start thinking about, I'm going to college. I'll go to military. And then you got all these different things, the other factors. And if you think about it, even our school system doesn't really foster entrepreneurship. That's not a thing. You ask a kid 5 years old, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? They'll be like, I want to be a president. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a lawyer. They'll never say, I want to be an entrepreneur. I haven't met one 5-year-old say, I want to be an entrepreneur. So it's taught, I believe, to a degree, because someone has to teach you how to do it. You got to be like, whatever that guy's doing or that woman's doing, I want to do. So you gotta see it in some form or fashion and know it's attainable, right? Thank God for YouTube now, right? Like you have all these people on YouTube who are saying like Pace Morby and all these other guys out here and ladies, April Crossley's one of my coaches, that's saying this is what you can do, this is how you do it, and this is how you get in real estate. And you're like, oh, you can do it. I always make a joke. My dad's 67, right? My dad bought his first house when in 98. His first home he actually bought. He bought it for $500. He tried. Yeah, he got lucky.
Teach us.
Oh, it was luck. It was literally luck. What happened was he was like, buy here, pay here. He was like, basically, it was a buy here, pay here home. Like, not buy here, home. It was a rent to own home. And the older guy was like in his advanced age. And he died. His wife didn't know the books. She's like, whatever you have in your bank, just give it to me and you can have the house. And he got it. That's for $500 basically. And he fixed it up. We got it and we lived there. And when we moved again, he was trying to rent it out, but he didn't understand how to do it, right? And I was talking to my friend who's also an entrepreneur and investor. I was like, man, my dad is the most social person I know, and he's a salesman out this world. If he had the understanding of wholesaling, like the technology we have 20, 30 years ago, like he would have been a millionaire. Like I know this about him. And it's the excess of YouTube and people telling you how to get into wholesaling and how to start your foot in real estate. We have access now that we've never had before. So anybody can be an entrepreneur, but it comes not from passion, but as Carla said, that drive. Am I going to say I am done with this 9 to 5? I'm going to take a bet on myself. College. Think about college, man. When you go to college, you bet on yourself. Why? Because mom and dad ain't waking you up for school anymore. You're getting up on your own time. If you miss your class, the professor does not care. And guess what? If you fell out, you still pay. So like, it's the same with entrepreneurship. If you fail, it's your own fault. And yes, there's external factors. Yes, there's things that happen. But it's just a matter of like, okay, I'm about to fail, but will I stop? Failure is, in entrepreneurship, in my opinion, it's inevitable. But it's the matter of how you respond to failure. Okay, that didn't work this time. Let's try it this way.
So what's your folks' thoughts about just going all in? Like if let's say like Kevin, you still have a W-2, I still have a W-2. Are you staying in that field to leverage it? Or like what do you think about just jumping all in? Like what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Circumstance, man. I'm staying 9 to 5 right now because I got health insurance. It's crazy. And I work for a hospital. And for us to have another baby is free. Circumstance. It's your circumstance. Can you walk away from your 9 to 5 and afford it? Are you concerned about health insurance? Because the marketplace isn't great for health insurance. That's just the reality. So it's just circumstance, my opinion.
Yeah. As a former licensed financial advisor and planner, I have to go to the numbers. So if anybody's considering going all in, I would say you better have a rock solid plan, and you better know your overhead, your fixed expenses. You better know it by memory, no guesses, and have a plan for that, and have 6 months worth of savings to cover your overhead in case your business is not successful. And very few of them are in the first year. And most of them fail after 5 years. So, yeah, that's my go-to is planning. I tend to go a little overboard on that, and sometimes it's like quicksand for me. But for somebody that's never made the leap before, you gotta have it all on paper. You gotta have all those numbers, and the insurance is one of the biggest things.
Yeah, I think it depends also, like, on your age, what your career is at this point. Like if you're young and you're in your 20s, I'd say, and you're interested in entrepreneurship, I would say do it now. Like you have time to fail and fail and fail again. If you're maybe in your 40s and you have a really high paying job, but you want to start making more passive income because you don't want to work for forever, you want to retire a little bit early, then, how do you leverage that high paying job that you have and start looking at your life and saying, how can I take this money and make this money work for me get involved in real estate. But maybe the best way to do that is to keep your job.
That part. Both.
Mhm.
I agree with all y'all. Y'all killing it.
And I'm a really big fan of testing the waters. Like side hustle is so cliche at this point, but it's so easy to do. Like I have a full-time book of clients that I do the virtual CFO for, but I got some side hustles, you know? So even as an entrepreneur, you can have side hustle. Like real estate is one of them. So as a full-time W-2 person, I would say if you've got that entrepreneurial itch and you want to go all in and make that leap, test the waters by doing it part-time. You can get one house as a rental to start with. And the way I got into that, I'd wanted rentals my whole adult life. And I was married and he had no interest in that. And so after a divorce, I was in my own house for the first time in my adult life. I was the only one that owned it. And after a few years, I wanted to move to a different part of town. And I was like, I'm keeping that house. I'm going to turn that house into a rental. I'm not going to cash out my equity and go sink all that into another house. I'm going to keep it. And that's how I got into it, by keeping the houses that I live in and sell. So there's ways to get into it without going all in as your first step. You can take baby steps into it.
Yeah. I think like all of you kind of mentioned, if you can start when you're younger and you don't have all these other responsibilities, right? You don't have student loans, maybe you don't have a family yet, and you can take more risk. I think that is, but we get caught up in heading down that path, right? Getting the new home, the new car. And that's kind of what gets us in the rat race. So we can teach people to get started. Like my son, I'm really trying to stress to him, get to that, do this now. And hopefully you don't head down that path. And by 30, you could probably be financial, or occupational freedom, right?
Freedom. I like that, occupational freedom, because it's like, what is financially free? Yeah.
So speaking of being younger and starting, one of my good friends in Pittsburgh, he goes by Mogul Mo, right? And he is a young investor. He started like in his early 20s, maybe in 18. First started at a bank, bought his first house. And how did he do it? He house hacked. He went online. He learned YouTube, house hacked. Didn't even go to college, man. And started as an investor. Lived one side, rent the other side out, and then he grew this portfolio. Now he's doing he has his hand in multiple things. Like he does construction now. He has a construction team he runs. He has an investing team he does, and he's constantly buying. And my man is under 28. And
who is this? I'm going to look him up right now.
Hey, look him up on. I think his Instagram is Mogul Mo. At Mogul Mo. Look him up on Instagram. He does a lot. Super positive guy. Really good friend of mine, and he's a beast at real estate. One of the guys really inspired me. I was selling life insurance to him, right? And he's buying the top policy in life insurance to cover his debt. And he's at the time 21. Understood he can use that tool as an investment tool. And he was like, hey, give me whatever you can, whole life max. And I'm like, yeah, what? He said, yeah, I own this house. How old are you? 21. You ran out the other side. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Wait, is he not on Twitter? He's not on X?
He's not on X, but he's definitely on Instagram.
I can't find him. Mogul Mo?
Yeah, let me see. Let me see if I can find him here.
All right, so we got Janitor on fire here in the comments. He's always
okay. So it's
by.
underscore. It's underscore Mogul Mo.
I really, really admire that generation. They get a lot of criticism in the media, but there are some kids out there today that are killing it, and I'm learning from them, and I love it.
Let's see right there.
Oh, I'm spelling it wrong.
Yep.
Thank you.
We got Trade Better. Oh, 99. Yeah, he actually changed his name.
Oh, yeah.
But he's always here. So so he has a question. He says, I am interested in a research side hustle. What has helped you gain and maintain clients? I think he wants to find a side hustle, like researching a side hustle. I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Hey, man. Go ahead. Go ahead, girl.
Word of mouth. the best clients I've ever gotten have been referrals from existing clients or clients that I haven't worked with in 5 years. You know, the one called me recently and she was like, "Hey, I got a friend who needs help. Can I pimp you out?" I was like, "Yes, you can." Yeah. I've tried advertising. Like I said, I've been on TikTok like 18 months and I'm just doing free financial literacy over there. But you get one client and you provide the best possible service that you can't go overboard and serve those people like they've never been served before. And that gets it. Starting a side hustle as a researcher.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that, yeah.
what kind of researcher? It's interesting.
Yeah. I posted on Twitter this morning that I have a problem with researching too much. So I'm not going to answer. Like, I don't do
Yeah, I
research.
saw that. I
I
saw
don't
that.
do
Yeah.
research for a living. So I'm not going to stay out of this one. I just have a bad problem with overanalyzing.
For me, I think it's really just putting yourself out there now. You know, there's so many platforms and connecting with people. That's how we all connected, right? I
Mhm.
actually connected with Kevin I think 2 years ago or so, and I kind of just reached
Yep.
out again recently. And he's in the Pittsburgh area. That's where I invest. And Lauren actually has a house in Maui, so we've actually connected through social media, and Carla on X. So yeah, I think that's what it is, just putting yourself out there. Yeah, of course, it's not easy in the beginning, but you just meet people that you connect with, and I think just having fun with it. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
So what
Yeah.
does he? I want to know what Trade Better means by starting a side business as a researcher. Like, what does that entail?
Well,
Yeah,
I kind of did that as a dietitian. I would do, I don't know what his career is, but I would do side hustles of writing art, like research papers, like nutrition study papers, or, for magazines or whatever. So if you're like a professional, that's a great side hustle. If you have some sort of license or expertise and you can get into sharing that expertise that people will pay you for. And then, or gathering research for people, like if people are doing studies, you can work for them as a researcher. So I don't know if you're in that science kind of world, but anytime I feel like, yeah, in healthcare, yeah, you can definitely make money in healthcare doing research, AI building, real estate. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and real estate too. I mean, as being somebody who's like, if someone's looking for wholesale properties, or what somebody's in the market for, you can go out and do the work for them and research different markets and areas and bring them that information and say, "Hey, look, I found this for you. Here's a few properties you might be interested in." Like, they'll give you a finder's fee or something. Like, real entrepreneurship is seeing where that need is and what information people are looking for and being able to identify it for them. And if you go out of your way to do that, even without them maybe necessarily even asking, and maybe at first you start just doing it for free, like say, don't pay me until I provide something of value for you. You can build a business and you'll build clients. Like if you're delivering something of value, and they'll want to pay you, they'll say, you're really helping me. Like I try to pay everyone around me who is adding to my business, because I want those people. I need those people. None of us can do it alone. Like we need other people to help us grow and to support us. And so if you can be that person, then money will definitely start coming your way.
I agree with that. And like boots on the ground, it's kind of what you're calling like a term, and like you can find on YouTube. It's probably boots on the ground. And boots on the ground, basically what Lauren was just saying is basically, I'm in Pittsburgh. Let's say you live in Pittsburgh as well. And you're like, hey, there's a house right here that I came across that I know the owner and he wants to sell. And now I'm gonna give you a portion because you gave me the deal, right? I buy the house, I get the deal, I give you some money. Now you boots on the ground. That's like loosely doing wholesaling without being a wholesaler, right?
Yeah.
Another thing you can do, man, whatever your expertise is, you can try to do it on a side thing. Like my wife, she worked at Chatham University as the associate director of career development. She started her recruiting company, which is Salty Careers. Now she does recruiting for companies on a platform called Reflect. And on the side, I'm a recruiter by day. And what I do is if I have some time, I'll help her source other candidates. Like my son has a daycare he goes to, right? And I source on I got work, I go there and I work for them sourcing candidates, for them. I don't get paid for it, but I give my time towards it because, like, hey, I'm giving back to my son's community. So, like, whatever your expertise is, right? You can kind of give that and make money off it. That's the trick, really, in entrepreneurship. What's my skill set? What can I make my skill set? How can I make my skill set work for me without working for someone else? If you can figure that out, man, you golden. You're golden.
I've kind of forgotten what the original question was, but some things have come to mind since you guys have been talking. And I think writing is one of the best things that you can do to get clarity on what it is that you want to do. And so, we used to say journal in the morning, but these days it's all about doing it in public. So I have found that writing on Twitter has helped me kind of get some clarity about the direction that I want to go in. And as a researcher, somebody's wanting to do hardcore research and provide that for a service, demonstrating how well you can do that in public on Twitter, or I'm thinking even LinkedIn. I don't know much about that platform. I have a profile, but I never log in. But I think those would be two great places to just start building in public. Dan Coe uses that phrase a lot, build in public. But for a researcher, that's perfect. And then the other thing that crossed my mind was you got to find mentors. You got to find somebody that's doing what you want to do and go out there. And if you can't meet them like we're doing here today, you can shadow their accounts and engage on their accounts and learn what they're doing and scroll all the way back down to the beginning of their account and see how they got started. My favorite thing about social media today is meeting people like you guys. Like this is, I could just do this all day. I love hearing your stories and we learn from each other. So
now that you say that, here's another good follow. She's popping in. She's kind of busy, so she hasn't been as active with us, but Homes and Hustles. So she's also on X.
Yay.
She's on Instagram. So go check her out. She's in real estate and merchandise.
The queen of the side hustle.
Yeah. So go follow her. And
I'm headed over there right now.
So hopefully Friday, I'm doing a live again with a few other people, and Matt is supposed to be repping some of her merchandise that she's doing for him. So come check it out on Friday. But shoot, where'd it go? Janet on Fire did put a good comment in here, and I want to catch up with Kevin real quick because I know he has to bounce a little early. But Janet on Fire did put under promise and over deliver. I think that's a great thing to, when you're trying to get clients and build a funnel. Mm-hmm. But Kevin, you kind of did touch on it. Your wife Leslie, she's awesome. And do you think that was something when you guys met? I'm not saying you're looking for someone with that entrepreneurial mindset, but does that make it a lot easier that she also kind of has that vision, the same vision as you?
Man, I'm a believer, right? So I'm a huge believer in certain scriptures, and the scripture says, he that find a wife find a good thing and attain favor in the Lord. And it also says, be equally yoked, paraphrasing, be equally yoked with your spouse. Everything I ever said I wanted to do, my wife figured out how to do it, literally. And that's his blessings because I know God designed my wife for me. Like I said, I wanted to buy a house, and before we got married, well, she looked up, researched it, started looking on Zillow, and here we go. We got a house, right? And I was like, I really want to get in real estate one day. Well, my wife started getting on this thing called Clubhouse. It was very popular during the pandemic. She was listening to all these people talk about real estate and things like that, and she was dabbing her feet in. I was like, okay, cool. And I was listening. She's like, you need to listen to this person. You need to listen to that person. And I started listening, and we started doing some things. And we came across April Crossley, our coach. And as you were saying, Lauren having a mentor. Carla said mentor. Having a mentor is very important. Having a coach is very important. If you want to get in real estate, you want to get anything you want to do in this business, entrepreneurship, invest in yourself and get a mentor or a coach. Why do I say that? When you go to college, don't you pay for that? Same thing with entrepreneurship. Okay. So having a wife that understands and has the same desire as me, right? After having our son, she was like, she took 2 months off. She was like, man, I'm really loving being a mom and spending time with my son. I don't know if I can continue this 9 to 5 afterwards. And so she started figuring out a plan, how I'm going to get off the 9 to 5, how I'm going to do this. And she stepped out and got her recruiting business started. And I'm like, hey, babe, you ready? Go ahead and do it. We have enough in our real estate portfolio to cover your income. So we're good. Having that partner that has the same mindset and having the same desires is very important, especially when it comes to being a partner with your spouse. Because guess what? No matter how mad I am about the deal going bad, I still got to go to bed with her. So you have to have smart conversations early on and know when to stop.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get her on one time too. She's amazing. I love the energy both of you have. So that'll be fun too next time.
But absolutely. She's a lot more intelligent than me, y'all. I'll tell you that.
Oh.
Everybody says better half. I say my smarter half. I'm just the guy.
But I know you got to leave soon. But so we can catch it. But so where can people reach you? What is your other, YouTube channel you have going on? And what are you working on?
So I have a movie review channel called Real Life Reviews, REEL Life Reviews. My buddy Eric, we do movie reviews. And then I also have one with my wife. It's at Real Estate Brew. That's where we do our real estate conversations, like 3-5 minute short clips about real estate, investing, some fun stuff like that. And you can find us on Instagram. Was it at ENK Real Estate, right? And then she's right there. I have to ask her. She knows everything. And then you can also find us on Facebook, ENK Real Estate Investments on Facebook. And you can find me on at King Kevin David on Instagram. If you have any questions about real estate, you want to learn about anything, I'm willing to talk, man. I'll give you my free time. If you live in the Pittsburgh area and you want to walk through properties with me, because guess what? I will show you for free right now how to get out there and get into it. I will be doing coaching in the future one day, but right now I'm trying to get the game out for free, right? Because I got the game for free too. So I'm going to give it to you for free.
Tell me your real estate YouTube channel again, because I was following all of those as you were talking, but I missed that one.
It's at Real Estate Brew. Real Estate Brew.
Thanks.
You can see me, my wife. You see it? You find it?
I sure did.
Yeah.
All right.
Check it
Nice.
out. Yeah. So hopefully you had fun, and hopefully you'll join us again another time, and you can get Leslie on next time, and we can do this again. But you can hang out as long as you can, or if you got to bounce, just bounce. But
all right, I got to roll out. But hey, I enjoyed meeting you all. Hey, Mark, do me a favor. Give me both their information for Instagram, Facebook. You get my number. Text me. I want to follow these women. You're really dope, amazing women. I'm so proud of everything you're doing. I want to continue to watch your journey and even learn from you however I can. So thank you so much for your time and having me on here.
Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks, Kevin.
Mark, do we have any more time?
Oh yeah, we can probably go 15-20 more minutes or so. Yeah. So
I had a question I wanted to ask Lauren, but I don't want to derail us.
Go. This is open. You do whatever you want to do. Yeah.
It's a free for all. Okay, so Kevin was talking about when he was a kid, like he did door-to-door sales. And so that reminded me of a question. I've never asked you this, Mark, either, that I ask clients when I'm working with them, if they're having trouble getting control of their money, like they could even be high income earners and they just cannot get their together, So I do a lot of financial psychology work with them. And this is my favorite question to ask people. And I've never really thought about it from an entrepreneurial background question, but I think it's going to work with you. So go back to your childhood and try to remember the earliest money memory that you have. Like the first time that somebody put money in your hand and you were like, oh, this is something that you buy things with, or the first time you heard other people talking about it, or the first anything like that. I'm going to stop and let you just think for a minute.
Well, she doesn't have to go as far back as me. She's much younger than me.
My
Yeah.
brain is still
anything come-
processing more quickly than yours.
Does anything come to mind?
Yeah. Oh yeah. From as far back as I can remember, I had a piggy bank. And like when I was really young, like probably 4 years old, I got this piggy bank and I was obsessed with asking my parents for the coins to put into the piggy bank. And I was a saver. And I've always been that way, like a little squirrel. I'll like squirrel things away. So yeah, that's probably one of my earliest childhood memories around money.
Did you do you remember what you told yourself? Like when you got your hands on money, do you remember that that thought process of how you chose to put it in the bank rather than going to the candy store or going to buy toys or something like that?
I think early on it was, I mean, I grew up in Idaho. It was pretty rural. I don't know that it wasn't like a shopping centric culture there. So, I mean, going to like the earliest memories I have of like wanting to buy things is I was obsessed with miniature furniture. Like I didn't have a dollhouse. I just was obsessed with miniature furniture. And for whatever reason, we had like a dollar store and I would want to save my money so I could go to the dollar store and buy like miniature chairs, a miniature couch. I know it's so bizarre when I think
It's so
about it.
sweet though.
Yeah.
You were doing real estate back then
I
on a
guess.
scale that a child understood it, which was that you have a house and you put furniture in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the piggy bank. How does that play out in your adult life today?
Oh, well, I'm very much the same, like a saver. And I think, we didn't have a lot of money. There was 5 kids. So it probably I'm sure on some sort of subconscious level I was saving from the earliest age that I possibly could. And so, yeah, I'm still the same way. I always have like emergency funds and building up fund. Like I feel like I don't have enough if I don't have a good emergency fund. I'm like, whoa, things are getting tight. And someone else would look at that and go, things are not tight. So already my mind is already skewed to the direction of being really safe with money and being very like risk averse.
Mm-hmm. So psychological studies have shown that our first engagement that we have with money has such a huge impact on our little child minds that it will typically play itself out through the rest of our life. And so like Kevin was talking about, his earliest memories was of selling things. Like that's entrepreneurship. And so the first time I ever did that exercise, my memory, I didn't know what the end game of the exercise was. So I just answered the question, and I was like, hey, we were selling stuff, like we were the lemonade stand kids. Like we would cut flowers and sell them to people. We would knock on doors and we just did it all. We had a peach tree in the backyard. We would collect those peaches in baskets and go sell them to neighbors. And we were just selling. And I say that I'm not a salesperson. Like that's my biggest weak spot as an entrepreneur. But when I go back to childhood, I don't know where that came from, but I was just so motivated to make money, to sell stuff. I don't know. So it's played out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're all salespeople, right? You're always selling something if we look at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's a negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna. What was it? Oh, yeah, Lauren. I don't know if you know like Carla's story too, though, but she was like living in an RV for like, was it 1 year, 2 years?
It was almost
Like,
2 years.
yeah.
Well, it was the way it happened was I took a side hustle. It was like a 6-month contract to go out to Sedona, Arizona and manage a couple's business in Sedona, which was real estate. It was Airbnbs, and they had a retail store as well. They wanted to go and replicate their retail store in another state. So they had run an ad saying, we need a business manager to come and live in our house for 6 months while we go out of state to replicate this business. And I had the time freedom, the occupation freedom to do it. So I applied for it. and got it. So I got to go out to Arizona and live in their house and manage their businesses for 6 months. And then that turned into 12 months, into 18 months, into 24 months. And I ended up letting the guy who was renting my house back in Birmingham, Alabama, he begged me to buy it. And it was the top of the market. So I sold it to him. And this was before the pandemic. And so I had that money from the house. And I was saying to my brother one day, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. Do I want to buy a house out here in Sedona? I really don't. The market's so overpriced. And my family's back home in Birmingham anyway. I don't know if I want to buy a house there. And my brother said, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do with that money. You're going to buy a motorhome because I've been hearing you say you want one your entire life. So I did it. I bought the motorhome. I left Sedona in like August of 2020 with no real direction of what I wanted to do in terms of a home base. And so I did a lot of volunteer work on the road with other RVers. There's a whole underground network of RVers who do good works. And then I had my other part-time CFO business that I did. I had just kind of reduced my client base to the point that I didn't have to work all the time. And so, yeah, I spent 2 years hitting the national parks and all over. I went all up Utah, Wyoming, South Dakota. I did the Carolinas. I went down to South Florida. And yeah, I did that for about 2 years. And then I hit the wall with like physical exhaustion because that's a lot as a single person with 2 dogs to do. So yeah, it was awesome. I have a home base now, still got the RV, and I'll do it again.
Where are you based now?
I'm actually near the Alabama-Florida line.
Oh, okay.
And I'm in the Panhandle part.
Oh yeah, we're actually not too far from each other.
Yeah?
I'm in like North Central Florida, so.
Oh, very cool. Well, I was on that path a lot for the last couple of years because my daughter was down in Miami. So I would take the motorhome down there and visit she and Jeremy, but they just recently moved to Atlanta, so I'm not going to be on that junket. It's frequent, but man, it would be so nice to meet up one day.
Yeah, that would be great.
It would be fun.
Yeah,
Floribama. Oh my God, somebody knows the Floribama. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, so this is Chester, wealth building journey. He's awesome. But so he said, yeah, great point, Carla. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Yeah.
What a dream to live in an RV and travel around for 2 years. I did the van life thing for a little while also, but I did it. I love to ski. So I did, I started in Colorado and I hit like every ski resort.
Oh my God. We should totally do a whole episode on this because it's another life. Like it's an underground lifestyle.
Oh, so, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who does work online and you've always kind of wanted that freedom, but you don't know if, you can or whatever, it's just such a good way to like, you can go do that and you can plan to do it for a year. And the experiences, you get to travel without having to like completely disconnect your life. And you can set it up where you're moving from one place to the next at whatever pace fits your lifestyle and your work and everything. And it's one of the coolest. I mean, the national parks in that whole, I mean, across the country, but even in that like Colorado, Utah, Wyoming area, I mean, it's so beautiful.
And the people my experience at least was that the people are just so grounded and cool. And like, they know who they are. They don't care that society says that we should have the house with the white picket fence. They're out there going after the dream life before they retire. And so
it's such an antidote to that keeping up with the Joneses mentality that so many of us get caught up in. And even just being back, like I'm back in what I would call like my suburban lifestyle now. It creeps in on you and it creeps up on you. And when you're forced to live in that small space, it's like, you don't need new clothes. You don't need things. Stuff becomes a burden because you're taking it with you everywhere you go. So you just learn how to live a little bit lighter. And it's such a good practice and exercise in doing that and figuring out what do you really need, because you can only fit your necessities.
I was moving towards a minimalistic lifestyle anyway, and that sealed the deal. When I realized I could live life with like 3 pots and 4 plates and 3 3/4 or whatever, you know. We should totally do an episode on this, Lauren. And I would
Yes.
love to
Oh,
hear about
absolutely.
your experiences on it.
Yeah. Janitor on
Janitor on
Fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
says his cousin does college admissions from his class, the Winnebago Travato van.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities out there,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
with
kind of I wanted to just touch on this real quick. Kind of the glorification of it, though. Does it overlook the risk
Mm.
and failures? So, like, I was going to ask Lauren earlier, I forgot about it, but so your calendar behind you,
Yes.
would you say it is more full now, or if you had a W-2, how full would that calendar be?
I think it's more full now, for sure. No question about it. I work 10 times more now than I ever did when I had a W-2. And I'm not somebody who I think there is a huge glorification of entrepreneurship for some people, but not for everybody. Like for some people, entrepreneurship is going to give them the things that they really do need. Like they will never be happy working for somebody else. They'll wake up every morning dreading going to work because it's the same every day. Yes, I know. Like you said that earlier, like, oh, I need the variety. Like there's not that much variety in that W-2 job, depending on your job. Some jobs do have a lot of variety and you can get the best of both worlds. But I do think there is financial risks and failure that should not be taken lightly or overlooked because you don't have anything to fall back on necessarily. Like if you give up your job, they may fill that position. You may not be able to go back or, most businesses fail in 5 years. And also a lot of people who say they're entrepreneurs really are not having the occupational freedom that they really do want. They find that they actually now have to wear a lot of hats that they didn't want to wear. Like I'm now a bookkeeper and I'm focusing on like the business side of things. I'm managing people. I'm keeping the balls rolling. I'm the visionary. I'm thinking about like what's happening, where are we going, what's the future. So I wear a lot of different hats where I have to be focused on the day-to-day details every day, but then I also have to like zoom out and be big picture. If you're an employee, a W-2 employee, you don't have to do those things. You can just focus on your role and how you can grow in that and improve and like where you want to go in the company, but you're not solely responsible for the direction of the company. And that fills up your calendar, all that, all that stuff. It really does. You don't get weekends the same way because you can't shut off. Like I don't get to turn off my phone and just not be available and say, hey, you can't call me on the weekend. So there's definitely benefits to having a W-2 and not being in control. It can also, you can use that time on the weekends to figure out things that you are passionate about, to take classes that in things you're interested in. And like you said, sewing, like I've always wanted to do sewing. Like I've always had an interest in it. And now I'm like, there's no way I don't have the time for that, you know? So I really have replaced my W-2 job with a real estate job at the place that I'm at right now. So I wouldn't even say that I'm like financially free. Like people would say, oh, well, you control your finances. Yes, but really my real estate controls me. Like if we're really being honest about it, like I can go on vacations and I don't have to ask for time off work, which I love. I love that freedom to just be like, well, this is really important to me. So I'm going to move my stuff around. I'm going to make sure that I can do that thing. But while I'm there, am I going to be answering my phone? Probably. So there's always pros and cons. And I think you have to be like really realistic about what the downsides are and like make a list and go, is the upside of this worth dealing with all of these downsides?
Yeah, the wealth building journey said financial independence is not the same as financial freedom. And boy, I will 1000% agree with that. And I'm going to really hold on to that phrase that Kevin used earlier about occupational freedom, because yeah, and I want to second everything you just said, Lauren, because we do talk about the upsides of being self-employed. And for me, the ruling upside is time freedom.
Mhm.
But that comes with the trade-off of dealing with work issues over the holidays. And I was out with my mom one day on a Sunday, and a client called, and I answered it. And when I hung up, my mom said, why are they calling you on Sunday? And I
Mhm.
said, because that's the relationship that I have with clients. We've set that standard that I'm on call, and I accept that. But it also gives me the ability to take off and do what I need to do, like come up here to Birmingham and visit you this weekend without, and staying for 4 or 5 nights without having to ask somebody if I can do that. And my
Mhm.
work goes with me literally everywhere.
Mhm.
If I'm on a plane, I'm buying Wi-Fi so I can answer questions and, stay connected with clients when I'm on a plane. Holidays, they go with, even on vacations. I hate to admit that, but that's just how I've structured my relationship with clients, and I chose to do it. So there are downsides, but there are positive trade-offs. Like somebody said, it's not all or nothing, and that I should have that tattooed on my arm.
Mhm.
I feel that way about so many issues. I have trouble dealing in absolutes. I think there's
Yeah.
always some wiggle room with everything except death,
Yeah.
and taxes.
I
I mean,
think it's just understanding what the end game or what your enough is, right? Because at some point, like you're saying, you can get it running, self-sufficiently pretty much, hopefully. And then, you know, maybe your enough isn't $1 million anymore. Maybe it's 500,000, right? That's what you need to live. And then you just scale back, and that allows you all the occupational freedom that you need. But in the beginning, yeah, it's a grind. And that's why even a lot of guys at the firehouse, they work their full career and then they retire, and they still have to do something else a lot of times. But it's by that time they're like, oh, what do I do? They haven't kind of laid the groundwork. And I'm trying to
yeah.
tell them, like, you should start it while you have this secure job and this secure pension. And if you have to work overtime to compensate maybe for some losses, you can do that. But
Yeah.
start it now so you have a little more runway and you can make more mistakes, so that when you do retire, it's already kind of running on its own. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And with the YouTube channel and X and all these things, is trying to get it running. So when I actually do retire, it's kind of a lot easier, the runway for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I think
minimizes the risk for sure.
Yeah, that's so important too. Like, you are learning also and dabbling. And if you absolutely hated real estate, you could just be like, I don't want to do this. I don't like it. Maybe I go learn more about investing in the stock market or something. You could, or maybe it's like, I like trading baseball cards, or I like
Mhm.
selling things on eBay. It's like when you have that job and you kind of like dabble and you learn, like you said, Carla, on the weekends and on the side, and truly make it a side hustle, you can figure out the ones that work and the ones that don't, and give yourself that leeway. Because ultimately, my mom was a nurse, and she luckily ended up working for a union hospital, but she always was just like, go to school, work hard, work your job, your W-2, and you'll get a good job and you'll have a sense of security and safety. And it's like, that she barely, could retire comfortably. Like if she had not had that union job the last 5 years of her career, she would have not gotten enough to retire. She was an oncology nurse working her butt off for 20 years. So if you don't educate yourself, like education to me, and that doesn't mean going to school, it means kind of like the other stuff, like how much do I need to retire? What is my plan? Like goal setting, dream setting, all of those things I think are super important to the entrepreneurial mindset, to figure out what it is you actually want, so that you don't end up doing something that is just creating more work for yourself without an end goal in mind. Like I don't mind having all my weekends booked, because I know that I'm working towards something and I have an end date, and it's like a goal is set. And at this point, a year from now, I won't be doing the same thing that I'm doing now. So having those goals and things that you're working for, I think really helps.
I love it. Well, I do have to get my son up for summer fun, so I gotta get
Oh,
rolling soon. But this was fun. I'm glad. Hopefully, Carla, you had fun. Hopefully, you'll
I
join us again.
did. I loved
time,
hearing your stories, Lauren.
Oh,
I want to hear more
likewise.
about your Airbnb stuff too. I'd love to connect with you on that because it has its own sets of challenges.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's multiple. We just did an Airbnb episode and it's like there's multiple things, stories and learning and experience. I'm sure you have many of your own from managing Airbnbs and stuff. So, yeah, I would love to hear more about your story. And we have to do an RV life episode.
Yes, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, unfortunately, some more people are popping in. Got Steven and Mark, but we're gonna wrap things up. But I'll be back on Friday with Matt and Ned Talks if you guys want to join. And Matt's gonna be showing off his Homes and Hustles gear, so you can check that out.
What is your guys' topic on Friday?
I
Do
don't
you have
know.
one?
I haven't thought about it
Oh,
yet.
TBD.
God, I was working on this one first, so
Oh,
but yeah, I gave myself time in between. I got to plan
Yeah.
that one out.
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Carla, go follow Lauren. I think Lauren, you guys can follow each other on X, and we'll do this again. But
We'll
thanks,
do it.
everyone.
Okay. Thanks,
Bye,
Mark.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.